Offensive tackle recruit Payton Kirkland does not pick Michigan State. What on earth is going on with recruiting? We get into that, whether we should be worried or not worried. And then also, Pat Narduzzi, what? Is everything okay over there, man? Hey, let's go. We're going to have a fun one today. Let's go.
Are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The world's greatest people are in front of me to start this week. That's right, it is you. It is the listeners, the viewers of Locked On Spartans. Thank you so much for kicking off your week with us on the Locked On Podcast Network. We do this 3 days a week until next week. That's right. August is, oh my God. August is pretty much here. And when August starts, that's when 5 days a week on the Locked On Spartans podcast and YouTube show kicks back up. So, maybe before you hit the ground running there, please rate, review, and subscribe to this here podcast or YouTube show. Any way you take in this media, I thank you for that. So, and also, any questions, comments, concerns, or you have a winning golf bet for this weekend's Rocket Mortgage Classic, LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. All right, eventful weekend for Michigan State football recruiting. Pretty eventful as far as late July weekends go for college football. Not necessarily in a good way, though. You probably already know the news if you do follow Michigan State football recruiting. And yes, it is top 300 player Peyton Kirkland. He is an offensive tackle from Florida. He commits to none of the 5 schools that he listed as finalist. Not a school that he ever visited. He commits to Texas. And that is another blow for Michigan State, for the future offensive line, and for just the 2023 class, and really, our morale, honestly. Let's talk about us for a second, the important people, fans of this team. If you told me on June 24th that I'd be feeling this about recruiting on July 24th, I would have thought you were ridiculous, because, oh boy, things were looking really good in June, and now they just look okay. Just okay, but we'll get to that, in a hot second. Let's just talk about the Peyton Kirkland commit to Texas. It came down between Michigan State, Miami, Oklahoma, Florida, and Miami. And then he picks Texas. Again, like I said, a school that he's never visited. In this day and age of NIL, could draw our own conclusions, perhaps, or draw our own hypothesis up if you'd rather do that. But listen, the fact of the matter is that Michigan State lost out on another highly ranked offensive tackle. And yeah, not only is it a bummer that, you keep missing out on these kids, but it's specifically at that position too. Offensive tackle is a pretty important position here. So yes, Michigan State strikes out again, but it wasn't really too big of a shocker. I know we teased this commitment last Thursday, and it was right after recording that, news was breaking out from the great recruiting reporters from On3, from 24/7 Sports, that Kirkland was indeed going to go to Texas. And if we've learned any lesson so far, it's that if a high school kid says that, hey, no, don't listen to those reports coming out about me, anyone that says anything about me is wrong, 100 times out of 100, it ends up that the recruiting reporters are correct. Now, Dustin writes in with an email: have recruiting services like 24/7 and On3 ruin the excitement of recruiting? Well, can't talk. We will actually get to that in segment 3, but he also adds in this to his email, which sets up the rest of this segment rather nicely. Dustin says, simply put, what the hell? We can't land Kirkland, Besantis, or McVay. Chase Besantis, he was a top 100 kid from New Jersey, same position, offensive tackle. And also on Sunday, he announces his commitment to Texas A&M. Miles McVay, that's going to be happening in early August. It's down between Michigan State, Alabama, Oregon, any team in the nation, really, when you think about it. And then Dustin goes on to write, I feel like we are missing out on everyone now, and there's not a ton of guys left. Dustin, Thank you so much for writing an email, because that sets up the rest of this segment perfectly. Because, listen, I know we're taking a big heel turn from those fun episodes we had in June, when the Ferraris were on the field, when goats were on the field, and we had so much talent on the field for these visiting weekends. And now, uh-oh, those kids are not coming to Michigan State. And let's take a look at the offensive tackles specifically here. Samson Okunlola, the top 10, top 15, no matter what recruiting site you look at. Pretty good player. He's probably going to go to Miami. Chase Basantis, he picks Texas A&M. Miles McVay, look, Michigan State's going to have to beat Alabama or Oregon or any other school that pops up. Sham Umarov, he committed to Tennessee. Joe Crocker, he goes to Mississippi State. Even Ryan Coretta, a 3-star guy that was on campus, which was pretty rare for Michigan State to just bring a 3-star kid to official visit weekend. Ryan Coretta picks Pitt. And now you also have Stanton Ramel. Really, it comes down to this. You had 7 offensive tackles on campus in the month of June, and Miles McVay and Stanton Ramel are the only 2 out there. And if you don't hit either of those guys, I don't know. You listening or watching at home, do you have an answer? Because I don't have an answer. Look. I want to stop myself right here, because you can feel however you want to about Michigan State football recruiting. I'm here for both sides of the argument. The answer is likely somewhere in the middle of this, right? That yes, hey, Michigan State right now has 12 kids in their 2023 class. 8 of them are 4-stars. That's a pretty unheard of number at Michigan State, especially with the last regime with Mark D'Antonio, who really wasn't known for his, recruiting acumen. I don't think that's a slight. It's just not how he really got where he eventually got, which was greatness at Michigan State. But it was also kind of a reason why tailed off at the end there. Different conversation. You can feel okay about this class right now. However, I'm also going to listen to the other side of the fence too, that's a little concerned maybe that things aren't going as well as maybe we were led on to believe or thought that they could be, or any word that you want to use really. Because, look, Michigan State goes 11-2. They win a Peach Bowl. They sign their head coach to a $95 million contract over the span of 10 years. So, and that shuts down any rumors that, he's going to be jumping ship here in a year or 2 years, which is very important to recruits. So that's good. You're winning. You're producing great talent, great outcomes in your games. Your coaching staff is sticking around. Heck, I mean, we're flashing all this money. Oh, yeah, we got our general manager essentially saying game on for NIL, and now we're missing out on a lot of kids. We're missing out on quite a bit of kids at a very important position. So, yes, you can be a little concerned, disappointed perhaps at what is going on with recruiting. Now, I will say this too. Now I'm going to hop on the other side of the fence. There is a lot of time left. December is when early signing day is. Flips are going to happen. Michigan State is probably going to flip a kid or 2. But also, Michigan State can have a kid get flipped away from them. So, yeah, there's a long way to go. And, yes, the transfer portal will always exist. You can hopefully probably fish an offensive tackle out of there. But, yeah, as it stands right now, oh, man, it just sucks, He said you had probably the most talent of anyone in the nation on campus in the month of June for those official visits, and now all those sweet pictures that, we all took at Spartan Stadium, that we saw on Twitter, that we saw on Instagram, those are now becoming pictures of kids not picking Michigan State. So, yes, we are in a slump right now. We need to get out of this slump somehow. Miles McVay might be the next commitment date that's set in stone. But, of course, if he's or if anyone else, rather, is like a Chase Basantis and just tweets out randomly that they're committed, then, okay, we'll be on high alert. But, yeah, just like Dustin writes, and probably as you listening and watching already know, that the list of names available to commit to Michigan State ain't getting much longer. So, yeah, this will be a recurring topic of conversation as we move forward. But, yeah, right now, personally, I find myself in the middle of how to feel about how things are going with recruiting, because, yeah, they're fine. 8 4-stars, pretty good. Also, $95 million, 10-year extension to a head coach. And no, contrary to popular belief for the fine folks in Ann Arbor, that contract wasn't given just because you beat Michigan twice. That contract was given because, well, we're supposed to be recruiting at a very high level. And yes, this is a higher level than Michigan State has ever recruited at. But isn't that kind of comparing what's going on now to just mediocrity? Like, look, just like we said, D'Antonio wasn't known for his recruiting. So to kind of compare where we're at to that, I don't know. Really, really need to get out of the slump. So we're also going to get away from talking about Michigan State football recruiting for a hot second. And we're going to be talking about an old friend here. Pat Narduzzi had some comments about Michigan State, about Big Ten football, and yeah, they totally made a lot of sense there, Pat. Let's dig into those in a hot second. But before that, hey, I just wanted to shout out LinkedIn. That's right, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn, and more specifically, LinkedIn Jobs. That's right, are you looking to fill out your team at your small business? Well, as you know, with the sun coming out more and more each day and small businesses are opening up more, LinkedIn Jobs is making it easier to grow your team because LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and, best of all, for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. That is a lot of people. Then add your job to the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word so that, hey, they know that you are hiring, and you can start networking and finding the right people to fill out your team. They also got simple tools like screening questions to make it easy to focus on your candidates so you're hiring the right guy or gal with the right skills and experience. It is why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one. That's right, number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free on linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's right, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they apply. And before getting into Pat Narduzzi's comments at ACC Media Days, hey, just want to thank you for making Locked On Spartans your first listen and or watch every single day here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Tomorrow's show, we will be having Carter Elliott on. We're going to be doing all Michigan State basketball talk. We've filled these airwaves with a lot of football talk recently. So yeah, what's going on with Moneyball? What are we looking forward to for the season? The aircraft carrier game. We're going to get into it all. So if you're a big hoops head, yeah, tune into tomorrow's show. You will not want to miss that. All right. Pat Narduzzi, the old defensive coordinator, old friend of the Michigan State football program, and probably former friend of the Michigan State football program, to put it bluntly. Listen, he goes to ACC Media Days, and fresh off of a Peach Bowl runner-up end to the season, old Patty Cakes is feeling himself lately. All right. You probably have heard the quotes by now. They've been circulating on the internet for the last few days, but we're finally going to get around to them. And also, he just very recently doubled down on all of these. So he's asked about the Big Ten, how the ACC stacks up, and, the Peach Bowl, all of that jazz. And he says, and I quote, if that's one of the best Big Ten teams, let's go to the Big Ten and win it every year. Okay, we'll dissect that one in a little bit. And now what he meant by that is that, well, Kenny Pickett didn't play in the game. That's right, first round pick out of Pitt to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ironically enough, Kenny Pickett was not in that game. And, Kenneth Walker wasn't either, but that's not an issue in the eyes of Pat Narduzzi here. So let's just tune back into what Pat had to say about Kenny Pickett. Quote, he is a 21-point difference, okay? Michigan State gets their butt kicked in. Who name dropping Michigan State? Love it. Saucy. Goes on to say it's at least a 14-point difference if backup quarterback Nick Patty plays the whole game. Okay, so those quotes linger for a few days, and then he's on a radio show in Pittsburgh, was asked about that. Do you take anything back? Do you double down on it? And he says, and I quote, here we go, now buckle up everyone, that's tough luck. It's called facts. We will get back to that quote in a hot second. Quote, we didn't have Kenny Pickett play. We didn't have defensive back Damari Mathis play. Two of our guys who got drafted, nobody was going to run the ball on us. Okay, that's tough luck, but it's called facts. I'm a big fact guy too, Pat Narduzzi. So here's a fact. Speaking of facts, Kenneth Walker gone, not in the game. The nation's best running back, not in the game. And I get it. Hey, he speaks very highly of his own running defense. They're ranked top 10 nationally. But let's see, Michigan State wouldn't be able to run the ball on you. What happened in the Western Michigan game earlier that season, Pat? They seemed to run the ball pretty nicely on you when they didn't hypothetically win a game because their starting quarterback missed the game. Like, no, they actually beat you. They really beat you because they also were able to run the ball. So, hey, if one team from the state of Michigan can run the ball against you, why not make it two? One with, the best running back in the nation. Anyway, that probably makes way too much sense for him to comprehend. Here's another fact, Pat. I'm a very forgetful person. I forgot how that game went. So I went back and, you were up 11 points with 8 minutes to go in that game. Was that the third string quarterback's fault? Was that Kenny Pickett's fault? Was that Nick Patty's fault? Or does a choke job like that fall on the head coach that you couldn't have your defense stop anything Michigan State's offense was doing in the fourth quarter? You couldn't contain Jaden Reed whatsoever. Go ahead, keep on single covering Jaden Reed. See how that one works as he's rocking the baby over your cornerback as he's falling asleep in the end zone. That seems like a head coaching problem. Pat, let's go down the list of facts here. Okay, you're going to come to the Big Ten and win because you came 8 minutes short of beating Michigan State in a Peach Bowl. Okay, come to the Big Ten. Listen, hold on. I just want to pull up these numbers here. How are you in the Big Ten? You played 7 games against Big Ten teams, Pat, and you are 1-6 against Big Ten teams. My goodness gracious, I've never heard a louder head coach of a runner-up finish at a bowl game spewing there, whatever it is that he is popping off on the airwaves. And look, I get what he's doing, right? Hey, ACC is under some fire. It's clear that they're not one of the big boys. It's the SEC and the Big Ten. I know that he wants to talk it up like, oh, yeah, Kenny Pickett was gone. We would have beat them. We could win the whole Big Ten. Okay, with that logic, it sounds like Western Michigan can just come into the ACC and then win that whole conference too, if that's how we're going to string things together here. If you can almost beat someone, or in the Western Michigan Pitt game example, quite literally beat them, then just join their conference and wallop everyone. Go for it. Get nuts. Would love to see how it goes for Pitt next year without a generational quarterback talent coming out of that school that fills its stadium a quarter of the way every Saturday. So, please join the Big. I would love to have Pitt join the Big Ten. We could use some more automatic wins over here. Hey, conference ain't getting any easier with USC joining it. So let's add an automatic W with Pitt. I would have arms wide open if I'm Kevin Warren, but I'm not Kevin Warren. Instead, I'm just a guy with a microphone that, honestly, that was pretty easy to dissect there. I felt like I was kind of dunking on my son's Little Tykes hoop, but that's what Pat Narduzzi gave to us. That's the fruit he's bearing. So keep talking. This is great. I'm having an awesome time. But let's talk about this too, because there was some chatter like, does he hate Michigan State? Does Michigan State hate him now? Like, I think that's probably safe to say that it was fun. The little 8 years, however long he was here being the defensive coordinator, that was fun. Nice little footnote in the Michigan State football history books. But yeah, I don't know if he'll be coming back for a ceremonial coin toss here anytime in the near future. I'm not sure how that is going to impact his standing here. And quite frankly, I think it's pretty obvious too that he doesn't care. Now, where is this coming from? Is he miffed that he never got an interview after after Mark D'Antonio stepped away? I think it'd be kind of foolish to not think that it's something to do with it. Is it just the fact that he wanted to stick up for his team, his conference? I think it's a little bit of that too. Or is it the fact that we're kind of getting crazy here and we are letting one okay season in a very watered down ACC get to our head a little bit? I think it's a nice cocktail of all three of those things. You shake it up and then you pour it into a glass, and we're drinking it all up for our entertainment. So thank you, Pat Narduzzi. Loved what you did here at Michigan State. And also love what you're doing at Pitt. Thank you very much for having your team fold like a dollar store lawn chair in the final minutes of the Peach Bowl, because it's always fun winning New Year's Six bowl games. And I'm talking about how you could hypothetically win them if this player played, but not talk about the other player, and then you take that guy out. Whatever. Pat, keep on going. Love you, man. So good luck this next season, I guess. Hopefully you don't have any MAC teams on your schedule, because woo! Oh boy, that would be a tough start to a September schedule. Let's get to the mailbag right now. Now, we teased this earlier that Dustin wrote an email about the Peyton Kirkland commitment and what's going on with Michigan State's recruiting, but also this is a fun little angle here that we'll talk about. He writes in, have recruiting services like 24/7 and On3 ruin the excitement of recruiting? Payton Kirkland, for example, doesn't have Texas in his top 5 and tweeted multiple times about how he isn't going to Texas, and all the crystal balls just changed to Texas. If you're not familiar with 24/7 Sports or On3, those are 2 recruiting sites where they're reporters, they're experts, they log picks to predict where guys are going to be going. They rank it on confidence, and way more times than not, they are accurate. So, yes, Peyton Kirkland names 5 schools, says I'm going to be committing to one of these on Saturday. And the one he commits to wasn't even on the graphic, but it was already sniffed out by recruiting reporters. I got to say, without 24/7 Sports or On3, yeah, that would have been a bombshell. That would have hurt, honestly, too. I can't lie. I would have been hurt by that 17-year-old kid's decision right there. But do they hurt recruiting? This is a total opinion question. It depends on the kind of person you are. If you are a glutton for pain or a glutton for excitement, yeah, you could say the whole crystal ball thing kind of ruins it, so to speak. But if you're like me, just start ripping Band-Aids off immediately, right? Like, if you're going to not pick Michigan State, I want to know that as soon as possible. I really wish I could trick my mind into thinking that the other way. Like, if crystal balls start coming to Michigan State, like, I don't celebrate it. I celebrate it when they actually do commit. But when crystal balls are going away from Michigan State, it's as good as done for me. That's how this mind works up here. Anyway, so yeah, it was just fascinating because, yeah, I mean, look, these guys are really, really good at their jobs. They are very good at their jobs. They have connections that we cannot even think of most of the time. And so, yes, Texas is named to be the leader for Peyton Kirkland. He has this date on Saturday. He's having his surprise party ruined, so he's tweeting out, "Oh, why would I go to Texas? I've never visited there." And Peyton, stop, Peyton. It's out of the bag. It's like you are going to Texas. Your party got spoiled, and we're sorry about that. Now, one way to remedy that is, like, don't announce a commitment date like days or weeks in advance or months. And I'm not saying that you should never do this, but, like, if you don't want anything spoiled, like, don't announce this big ceremony. Just simply, like, tweet out a graphic or post on Instagram or make a TikTok. I don't think we have any recruiting commitment TikToks lately. That's going to be the next trend coming up here in a few years, which should be electric. But yeah, look, if you don't want things spoiled, then don't set a date where guys can jump in and spoil it for you. So I don't know. But no, for me, I like the crystal balls. I like what On3 is doing. I love what 24/7 Sports is doing and has always done, because rip that Band-Aid off. Just rip that Band-Aid off. That's my little motto right there. Next question. This comes from number 1 MSU fan. That's right. Number 1 MSU, not number 3, not the number 17 MSU fan. The number 1 MSU fan writes in, will we see all 4 quarterbacks against Akron? That's right, Zips. We are going to bludgeon you so bad that we're asking if we're going to see all 4 quarterbacks against you guys in week 2 at Spartan Stadium. My answer, really quick, is going to be no. And I also have a longer answer to that. So let's get into that. Now, the 4 quarterbacks we're talking about, of course, Peyton Thorne. We have Hamp Fay, Noah Kim, and then freshman Caden Hauser. Now, last year, Michigan State had one blowout, we'll call it. At least one blowout where it worked for them. Sorry, I just had PTSD to Columbus last year. Anyway, the Youngstown State game, Michigan State popped the Penguins pretty good. Only two guys played, though, at quarterback, and that was, well, Peyton Thorne and then Anthony Russo got to throw. I think it was 7 passes that game. I believe he went 5 for 7. So, in the Mel Tucker era, when blowouts happened, that's our only sample size right there. So 2 guys played. Now, this could be a little different because, hey, Noah Kim is 1 year older. Hamp Fay, 1 year older. Caden Hauser, superstar freshman. I mean, I don't know if you guys can remember back in the day where I think it was 2013, I want to say, where the quarterback play was not all that great, and we had the "We Want Terry" chants, like for Damian Terry, that is, for more context. Caden Hauser's that good where, let's get the "We Want Caden" chants going here. And no, I'm kidding. We actually don't. If you get those chants, you don't want them. What I'm trying to say is, though, is that, yes, he is a very high-profile kid, a lot of hype around him, so it is a very fascinating quarterback room. Will we see all 4 of those guys against Akron? It's very hard, unless there's crazy injuries, to see 4 quarterbacks in a game. It's actually pretty hard to see 3 quarterbacks in a game, too. And I dug around. I went back as recent as I could for a massive blowout. I'm talking just like a biblical war going on in the field that's just one-sided. And it was 2014. Spartans against the Eagles of Eastern Michigan. Your Michigan State Spartans won 73-14. Whew, Jesus. 73-14. And even then, only 3 guys played quarterback. And I also found this little nugget fascinating too, that even in a 73-14 win, MSU only threw the ball 19 times. Like, they were just running Eastern Michigan, those poor guys out of Ypsilanti, into the ground because, it was 3 guys splitting the reps. And I don't even think Connor Cook had the Lions' share of pass attempts. I think it was Tyler O'Connor had the most passes. If not, then obviously Damian Terry was the 3rd quarterback to play in that game. So, no, I don't think it'll hit the magic number of 4. But if we do get to blow out territory in that game, I think that's a great storyline that not a lot of people are talking about. Of course, I'm one of these people not talking about it, so I'm calling myself out. But how do the quarterbacks stack up? Mel Tucker is not one for depth charts, so I don't think that we will know it before week 1. I think it's something that we're just going to have to see, okay, Michigan State's up 55-10 going into the 4th quarter. Who's coming behind Peyton? Is it going to be Noah Kim, the guy who's been here seemingly forever? Is it going to be the young stud in Caden Hauser? Is it going to be Hamp Fay? Or as fascinating as who's the 2 guy, I think the 3 guy is also a fascinating thing because, okay, Caden, have you already jumped Hamp Fay? Have you already jumped 2 guys this early in Noah Kim and Hamp Fay? So I think that's going to be a great undercard storyline. Let me knock on wood for the Akron game, and I knock on wood because now that we've talked about this, Michigan State will go into triple overtime against the Zips. But no, ideally, in a blowout, God, I'm my guess right now, if it's week 2, it would be Noah Kim 2nd, and then Caden Hauser 3rd. And this is all just me guessing. I don't have any inside information to this, but maybe as the season goes on, let's say Michigan State, we'll feel ourselves right now. Michigan State is up 63-7 in Happy Valley, week 13 of the college football season. I think by the end of the season, Caden Hauser's ceiling is so high that maybe he learns enough during the season where he does become that number 2 guy. So I know I'm going way long on rambling for that answer, but I just think the whole quarterback setup is something that isn't really talked about because there's a lot of other things to talk about when it comes to this team. But and also, usually when we talk about quarterbacks, it's always who's the starting guy, and the who's the number 2 guy or who's the number 3 guy isn't as sexy as last year's debate of Russo versus Thorne, but. There we go. I think it's a great storyline, and I really do appreciate that question. So thank you so much. And hey, if you guys want to reach out with any questions, lockdownspartans@gmail.com is the place to find us. Like I said, barring any big news or any schedule change, we will be talking with Carter Elliott. Yes, friend of the program. He's already been on the show once. We'll be talking nothing but hoops tomorrow. So cannot wait for that one. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Love you all. Let's have a great week. Let's go. Go great.